All right, this is going to be topic 3 of the level 3 class. This is going to go over the starting grid strategies. So the purpose of this topic is to mitigate the death and chaos that ensues at the start of every race. It's going to be up to the racer to decide what he or she chooses as far as the strategies go, and there are many factors to consider. Things you're going to want to consider are the grid layout, the track layout, and whether there's a choke or no choke at the very beginning of the track. That's going to dictate the amount of congestion that happens in the beginning of the race, where you are starting on the grid, and what ship you have. So let's start off with the first strategy, which is going all out and going on an optimal line. So this strategy would be best if you start in the very front of the starting grid. So there's nobody in front of you, no one that you can rear end. So just booking it right off the get-go is going to be something you're going to want to do. If you have a ship that has high acceleration and top speed, so these are ships like the 350R is a great example of this. Um, and if you're in the front, you're just going to want to take an optimal line and just go as fast as you can right off the bat. The second strat that you're going to want to consider is taking a different line off the bat. So for example, you're starting, but you're going out really wide to avoid the heavy traffic next to you, and maybe letting others pass you. So this strategy is more if you are in the middle of the pack and if you just want to get away from the congestion right off the bat, you could just take a different line and go out really wide. This also works if you have a ship with a lower acceleration compared to others. So something like the Aurora, or even if you're flying a base razor and you're surrounded by a bunch of 350Rs, you might want to not be right in front of them, or else you'll get bulldozed. And yeah, I can absolutely do that, Ninjetti, right after this. Um, the third strat I want to mention, and as of right now, this strategy is banned, is waiting. So when the race director says go, and literally just not going and waiting on the starting grid and waiting for others to pass over you. So the reason why this is banned for future races, as far as I know, is to mitigate the death and chaos that happens at the start of every race. And it's really just to avoid the unpredictability that happens um, in the start of the race. There's a lot of variables happening in a very short time span, and it's just simply very hard to predict what's going to happen in those first 2 to 30 seconds of that race. So as soon as the race director says go, you just wanna go as quickly as you can, and try to be as predictable as possible. One scenario where waiting could happen that is that is just bad is, let's say you're in the front of the starting grid and you wait for a couple seconds and then you go, but somebody in the back could rear end you and both of you could intersect, and we just want to avoid things like that happening as much as possible. So where we are at currently in Star Citizen Racing, just trying to make the race as best as possible for the racers by mitigating death and just doing the best we can with that. So that is pretty much starting grid strategies in a nutshell.